Thank you. I want to move to another topic that affects Americans' ability to compete in a global economy, and that's education. Please describe the key features of what you consider to be the best education system in the world, and tell us your goals and timetable for making U.S. schools among the best. Senator Edwards, 1 minute.
The starting place is to get the children young and get them on the right track, which is why we ought to have universal pre-K for 4-year-olds in America. We also should go younger than that to deal with the nutrition, health needs, child care needs of younger children based on some models that have been developed here in Iowa and also in my state of North Carolina. I think we ought to have a national teaching university where we attract the smartest, brightest young people in America to this university. It's like the Naval Academy, and we pay for their education, and they go out to the places in America where we so desperately need them. I think that we ought to give bonus incentive pay to teachers who are willing to go to the most difficult places. We need to radically change No Child Left Behind, and if that doesn't work, we should get rid of it. But there are huge changes that are needed in No Child Left Behind. And we need second chance schools, because in so many places in America, we still have 2 public school systems. I mean, I would never have been able to do what I've done in this country had I not had a great public school education. It was the foundation for everything that I've done. And what you see in America is you see very wealthy suburban schools that get everything they need, and then poor rural schools, poor inner city schools that are struggling, having an extraordinarily difficult time. I am committed to doing something to create one school system that works for everybody.
Thank you. Senator Obama?
Well, a lot of good ideas have been mentioned. Early childhood education, that will close the achievement gap that we see, particularly for minority children, because oftentimes they are already behind when they start school. Not just talking about how great teachers are, but giving them more money and more support. Changing No Child Left Behind so that we're not just teaching to a test and crowding out programs like art and music that are so critical. But you asked earlier about sacrifices that I'll ask from the American people. One of the things that I want to do is get parents re-engaged in instilling a sense of excellence in their children. And I've said this all across the country when I talk to parents about education. Government has to fulfill its obligations to fund education. But parents have to do their job too. We've got to turn off the TV set, we've got to put away the video game, and we have to tell our children that education is not a passive activity. It is something that you have to be actively engaged in. If we encourage that kind of attitude, and our whole community is reinforcing it, then I have no doubt that we can compete with anybody in the world.
Senator Clinton, you wanted in on that?
I do, because I've worked on behalf of education reform for a very long time, and I know that the president has a certain bully pulpit that can be used on behalf of education to do exactly what Chris and Barack and others have said. I'm privileged, to have a family that supported me in education. My daughter's here today. Obviously, Bill and I were incredibly focused on her education. So the federal government only pays 10% of the costs of public education. Let's use those dollars strategically. Let's do what we said we were going to do. How about funding special education, which we never have to the extent that we promised, putting a lot of burdens on states and local districts? How about fully funding whatever we ask the local communities to do? So I want to have a very holistic view of this, because if you go into a classroom today, it doesn't look like the 21st century in most instances. It looks very familiar to me, who was last in a classroom decades ago. We've got to bring it in to the 21st century, and I will use both the bully pulpit and legislative and executive efforts to do that.